and from InfoBarrel. Paper that is FSC certified means that there's no clear cutting. These statements are patently false. What about plantations? Another myth in the marketplace is that FSC prohibits certification of plantations. This too is false. FSC International's own website states that plantations account for more than 8 million hectares, or about 7% of the total acreage certified to FSC globally, primarily in Brazil, South Africa, and the United Kingdom. And FSC US gets around the thorny problem of certifying plantations by simply stating that traditional plantation forestry in the United States does not have to meet FSC requirements because those plantations are treated in the FSC US standard the same as natural forests. The reality is that there is no single FSC standard used globally. There are over 28 different FSC standards in use around the world, and that there are 86 million acres of FSC certified lands worldwide, 25% of all the FSC certified lands that are certified to draft or interim standards, not fully approved standards. In contrast, SFI is a single standard, no exceptions. John Burroughs said, "To treat your facts with imagination is one thing. To imagine your facts is another." The kind of behavior we see out of the activist community represents a profound crisis in leadership. It is time for the foolishness to stop. Now, I have worked in conservation for nearly 30 years, and I have never seen such dishonest behavior. From groups like Forest Ethics to the funders who support these campaigns, saying things that you know to be untrue, remaining silent while your proxies promulgate untruths, quietly sponsoring the perpetuation of untruths, all represent a level of professional misconduct that is appalling. Enough. It is time for all who care about the future of forests and the protection of all the many values that forests represent to stand up and demand a change, and that includes you. Monopolies are not good for any market, including forest certification. Competition produces a race to the top. SFI welcomes FSC into the marketplace. That is how it should be. Let the market decide. We face great challenges in conservation today. The very premises of environmental regulation and public funding for conservation are under attack. And if we are not careful, we will lose them for many years to come. These are the issues real environmental leaders are focused on. And by the way, it would be a mistake to think this lack of leadership is solely the purview of the activists. Too many corporate leaders give in at the first sign of pressure, allowing company policy to drift weakly on a current called risk avoidance. A friend of mine, watching corporate behavior of late, told me he was thinking of opening a new consulting practice that he was going to call capitulation counseling. I fear that his new business would do well. Think about the absurdity of saying FSC only in terms of paper. As you know full well, fiber from many products is sourced from multiple sources, which means that it's possible to have a product that is labeled as FSC certified, even though it actually has more fiber from SFI sources. Leadership means standing up for what is right, not for what is expedient. Across the board, we can and we must do better. To our elected officials, here we are in the nation's capital, I say it's time to invest in our future, time to invest in those things that are essential if we are to remain a great nation: energy, education, transportation, technology, and yes, forests. Allowing our nation's working forests to be destroyed in the name of economic development is bad policy, bad economics, and bad planning. It is the ultimate disinvestment in America, and we deserve better. To our corporate leaders, I say, stiffen your spine. Of late, too many fail this basic test of leadership. Companies that bow to activist pressure without even bothering to determine what is true and what is not do a disservice to all the companies that take the core value of honesty and integrity seriously. SFI is a great program, and you all should start acting that way. And finally, to my brethren in the environmental movement, I say, grow up. The world can no longer afford your petulance. You cannot be pro-jobs and anti-business at the same time. You cannot love employees and hate employers. It is time for you to peel back your fear of and contempt for the marketplace. If well-managed forests are the goal, then we should all be celebrating the remarkable victory of having hundreds of millions of acres of forests across North America certified. Folks, we need to focus on the bigger picture, the bigger challenges we face with respect to working forests, such as whether or not we will have forests to manage in the future, and whether or not we can bring into certification the vast majority of the world's forests that are not yet certified. These are goals worth fighting for, and we need all hands on deck. But there is another goal that we need to speak of this morning, something that is near and dear to my heart, something that I am passionate about, and that is the goal of reconnecting young people to the natural world around them, so that future generations will be prepared to inherit and be good stewards of the legacy of forested lands that we have spent our lives creating. You see, over the past 30 years, children of the digital age have become increasingly alienated from the natural world, with disturbing implications not only for their physical fitness, but for their long-term mental and spiritual health, and of course, for the environment. Young people who grow up without spending time in nature are much less likely to be strong champions of the environment when they reach voting age. 20 or 30 years from now, we will have leaders in our public, private, and nonprofit institutions who have to make very difficult decisions, policy and budgetary decisions about wetlands and forests and wildlife habitat, having never seen a wetland, walked in a forest, or seen wildlife in their native habitat. It is an untenable situation. Kids today have access to an unprecedented array of media in their homes and in their bedrooms, while opening up a wealth of virtual experiences to the young. These technologies have made it easier and easier for children to spend less and less time outside. Now, Wall Street calls this progress. But if that's true, then Ogden Nash was right when he said, progress may have been a good thing at one time, but it went on a little too long. Just the other day, I passed a giant billboard from IKEA, the furniture company. A giant billboard that said, "Kids, go play inside." Now, what does it say about our priorities as a society when we choose to market clever furniture in place of clever kids? When we will drive miles out of our way to buy free-range chicken, but we are too busy or too scared to encourage free-range children. There is a dullness in our young people today because they have lost the spark that comes from interacting with the world around them. It is time that we reclaim the higher ground. But how do we get there from here? Martin Luther King said that the success of any social movement depends on its ability to show a world where people will want to go. To show a world where people will want to go. But where is that? You and I may want to go to the Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge or the canyons of Zion National Park. But for a child in East Philadelphia, East St. Louis, or East LA, it may be someplace entirely different. In fact, it may be the abandoned lot next door. New York City has over 47,000 vacant land parcels, totaling thousands of acres. For decades, these have been considered liabilities, to be fenced off and avoided. What a waste. Where's the vision? Where's the creativity in that? Mark Twain said, "You cannot depend on your eyes when your imagination is out of focus.